Visuals on some of those clips there. Now let's cross back live to Colin Lemane, who's live to us from the mining dialogue out in Illovo. Colin, it's over to you.
I'll refer to it when you cross there. Well, thank you very much, Alicia. Yes, we are coming to you live from the Gordon Institute of Business Science, and we are focusing on this summit that is discussing the role of sustainability in the resources sector. And of course, at the moment, there are plenary sessions that are headed by different representatives of mining companies. And of course, as you look at the time now, since we crossed live here at 4 o'clock up until now, Steve Bullock, who is a representative of Anglo-American, has been speaking on a very important topic here. That is a mining company of the future, a call to action. And of course, we are going to have another speaker that will be coming up later on, who is from Exaro Resources, and that's Mzila Mtenjane, who is talking about a perspective of the resources industry in 2030 and beyond. And the last speaker, when we wrap the summit, will be Raldu Nell, who is Managing Director of the Blank Canvas International, who is the Operation Director there. So various topics are being discussed right now at the plenary session. But let me tell you another important presentation that was done this morning, which is focusing on what will it take to re-establish the social license to operate. And of course, it was done by Caroline Digby, who is from the Wits Business School. And she joins me now to talk about what she said when she was on the podium. Good afternoon to you and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's get the summary of your topic, which I find very, very interesting. What will it take about the issue of licensing?
Okay, so one of the things that we realize increasingly is that not only does a company need a legal license to operate and a political license, they also need to get this consent and understanding of the community. Social license to operate is becoming a really important part of a company's paying attention to its host communities. So a piece of work that was done by Harvard and an Australian university took 50 different cases in the mining sector and looked to see the cost of conflict, to try to understand where increasingly powerful communities were intervening either by putting in submissions around litigation, all the way through to protesting, blockading, to violence on property, violence on people, in an attempt to be heard about what the mining companies' activities were doing to them and the benefits that they were or not receiving. And I think this work is really important because it begins to highlight for us exactly how significant the social license to operate is. And if we look at what's happening in South Africa, we look at the events in Marikana, we look at the 5-month strike, we understand that increasingly the community is expressing its frustration at the way in which the mining industry is playing out and the benefits and costs that they're bearing of those operations. And I think it's a very useful time because we're in a crossroads around the social dialogue in South Africa around costs and benefits of mining.
If I were to come in there, when you talk about licensing, it's one thing, but the issue of compliance has been a thorn on the backside of the community, and of course government also being criticized of not properly regulating the mining industry. We've heard some of the debates in Parliament where opposition parties were saying that some mining companies don't want to take responsibility in as far as the welfare of the environment, the community, and generally the employees as well is concerned. Hence, you hear the backlash of Marikana that we experienced 2 years ago.
Well, I think it's very interesting because South Africa actually, on paper, has some of the best mining legislation in the world. And not only on the environmental side, but also the provisions for social and labour plan and the community benefits are those provisions are some of the best in the world. But what the problem is that we are seeing that this is not so readily implemented. And some of the provisions that have been put in place, particularly around conditions in the mining charter, have had some unintended consequences. So I think we've learned a lot in the last 10 years about what works and doesn't work in terms of legislation and regulation and the provisions that are laid out in the bill. And I think that the coming year will be very interesting to rectify some of the unintended consequences and put together some of the amendments that need to happen.
Using a very, very interesting term there, unintended consequences. The debate over mechanization right now is taking center stage. Surely that is not unintended when it hits the employers and the employees at the moment. People are going to be out of jobs. Vusigama of AMCU right now has just said that they feel that they want to make more profits with reduced labor. What do you say to that?
I say that mechanization does not necessarily mean less jobs. And let me give you some reasons for that. We've already lost a huge number of jobs in the gold sector. We've seen that over the last 20 years. We've lost nearly 500,000 people. So far, a lot of them have redeployed into platinum and coal and the other sectors, so we haven't lost too much employment overall. But we have seen significant reduction in employment in gold, and that is likely to continue because of mechanisation. But my view is that what we need to look at in mining is not more jobs at 4.5 kilometres down, low skilled, high heat, getting silicosis type jobs. What we need to do is mechanise, automate, have more skilled workers, fewer of them working underground, but look at what the economic linkages are to create jobs related to mining, in mining supply services, in procurement along the supply chain, side stream, upstream linkages, as well as some of the downstream.
All right, thank you very much for talking to us right here on PM News. Well, I'm talking here to Dr. Caroline Digby, who is from the Wits Business School, and she made a very interesting presentation today. What would it take to re-establish the social license to operate? And of course, that has been your live broadcast from the Gibbs Institute, and we're going to take a commercial break, and I'll be back later on. Join us at 6 o'clock when we give you more of the sustainability in the mining industry and resources sector. And of course, we'll give you an update later on. Don't go away. PM News continues. Stay with us.